Hey everyone, welcome to the Dee-Brief with Dr. D, your go-to space for real talk, real strategy, and real leadership, one insight at a time. I'm your host, Dr. D, and this is where we equip leaders for success and empower individuals to heal, to rebuild, and to reclaim the joy they so deserve. We tackle executive leadership, transformational coaching, and also the deep work of healing and restoration. This is where it all happens. Each episode is packed with powerful conversations, expert insights, and strategies to help you lead boldly, heal deeply, and thrive fully. So get ready. It's time to level up your mindset, embrace your transformation, and walk into your purpose. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media because you never want to miss an episode. Let's go. It's time to debrief. Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Dee-Brief with Dr. D. Real talk, real strategy, and real leadership, one insight at a time. I am your host, Dr. D, and I am so excited to interview today and have this intimate conversation with my friend, my soror, Dr. Rosenna Bakari. How are you? Nice to see you.
Oh, thank you. I am doing well. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So I like to start the podcast by having our guests introduce themselves. There's so much about you. You do such amazing work and service to people who just need everything you have to offer. I want to allow you to introduce yourself. So if someone would say, who is Dr. Bakari? What would you say?
I'd say she's an empowerment psychologist, very interested in the well-being of individuals who want to see beyond either what someone told them they should be, what society expects them to be, their own limitations in their mind. So for people who are really interested in personal growth beyond just surviving in the world, but moving into being their best selves, then that is what I do with people. But I don't just do it with people. So when people say, who am I? I am the person who has been through that transition and living that type of life and lifestyle. So I always say well-being is a lifestyle. It's not some place you get to. And so I have lots of empowering achievements, if you will, in my life, from being a fourth degree black belt to running marathons to, of course, having a high level of education, traveling the world. Those are not things I've done in a day, but they're things I do because they align with how I see myself in this world as an empowered human being, living the best life that I can live and passing those lessons on to others.
Yeah, no, that's really, really great. Um, And I know you've written some books and you have your own practice and your own business. One of the books that you wrote, Seven Exits. I love that title. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the book, the journey, and what inspired you to write it?
Thank you. Yes, so Seven Exits is my seventh book, which I love because I'm also the seventh child. So I feel like there's something magical about the seventh child writing the seventh book called Seven X's. And so I'm expecting great success with that. The book actually will be released September 9th. It is currently in pre-order for people to access and make sure that they get their copy. And so the books that I've written before then are all related to well-being in some way or another. But Seven Exits is the book of all books. Like, it's the book that I feel like I was made to write. It's the book that I was ready to write. It's the book that I could only write when I had arrived at this level of healing for myself, where I was really felt like I had something to share the world with the world in terms of a a blueprint. Now, not a blueprint in the sense that everybody does it exactly this way, but a blueprint that guides people into themselves. Because sometimes people write these blueprints. Everybody does it this way, and so that's not the kind of blueprint it is. What I love about 7X's is that it's based on the rims, REALM, the rims that people need to leave in order to get where they're going. So oftentimes when we listen to gurus, when we listen to advice, people are always telling you how to get where you're going, how to be in this space. Too often, so much of that advice means not digging into who you are. So 7X's is written with the premise that you must be able to leave where you are to get where you're trying to go. So you can have the best laid plans, and I've had some of those plans. You can have the best laid plans to get where you're going, but if you don't know how to leave where you are, it doesn't matter how good the plan is.
Right.
You can have the map to California, but if you don't know how to get out of your city, what you do when you get on the highway is insignificant. And so 7 focuses on how to get out of the realms that you are in. It identifies those 7 realms and saying these are areas that you must leave, be willing to leave in order to have the optimal life that you want for yourself.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I don't know if you had a chance to see it yet, because I just uploaded it. I uploaded a 5-minute Friday today instead of a 6-minute Saturday, because I'll be at a live event tomorrow. But I talked about when God interrupts your plans, which sounds really similar to what you're saying. So when you have a chance, please watch that. What does that mean at a soul level? Because I know sometimes it can be very difficult for us to leave where we are for so many reasons that you just explained, physically, emotionally, but what about in your soul?
So the thing is that we often get disconnected from our soul because we're living in these realms. And so someone asked recently on a podcast, does that mean that you have to become someone different to get there? I'm like, no, quite the opposite. It means that you have to stop being someone different and start connecting with who you are authentically. And so we want to get to the soul level, but we can't get to the soul level because we are operating from our egos, because we are trying to keep up with society, because we are simply bombarded with all the things that the world is now requiring us to do just to live, much less live comfortably. And so something has to pull us away from all the distractions so that we can get back to soulful living.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that, because we're often not living our authentic life. We're living in a different life or different realm, or imposter syndrome, which I see people use that term all the time. So how does 7 Exits and the challenge, or the model, how does that build upon traditional self-help models? How does it relate or align?
So it does align. Like, there are certain things we know that it matters the way that you think, right? Know that it matters, that your actions matter. So those things are very aligned. There's nothing magical about or new about that. What I think people will find novelty about 7X's is that the focus is really on getting you to look at where we are now. So many of these models are like trying to get you to forget about your past, leave it behind, right? Be here and don't worry about what happened. You have to take up life now. It doesn't work. I mean, people do. It worked for a while. It works survival mode. But 7X's really sort of takes you by the hand gently and invites you back into a space so you can really look at now. And it's not back into it. It invites your attention back. It doesn't invite you back. It invites you to place your attention on understanding where you are. How did you get here? What are the comforts that keep you here? And looking honestly at the comfort that keeps you here, right?
Wow.
Unwilling to move from this space. the fear of losing someone, the fear of being on your own or being independent, the risk of failure. Like, what are the comforts that keep you here? And so we take a deep dive for you to clearly understand when I say you can't get there from here unless you exit, that you really know what it means to exit the realms that no longer serve you.
Wow. That is so powerful. And it really aligns with a lot of the work that I'm doing now, because it's hard to leave the things that no longer serve you, for some people, but also to even recognize that you are in a place with things that no longer serve you. I interviewed someone a couple of weeks ago, Apostle Dr. Patience Odie, and she came to the radio show and she talked about how life evolves. And she talked about the backslider. And she said, if we're standing still, life is continually moving. So that means we're the backslider. We don't have to move backwards. We just have to keep standing in the same place and not move with life. And then we're backsliding. So, like, this is all aligning. This is really affirmation for me, and a lot of confirmation. So, how do you distinguish between a necessary exit and if someone is just running from something that is uncomfortable? Like, how do we know the difference?
So for 7 X's, we actually identify 7 realms that are somewhat universal, these realms that we get stuck in. And
Mm-hmm.
so it takes the busy work out of you trying to figure out what all of these are realms to exit from. Right?
Right.
The hyper ego, the complacency, the silence and secrecy, and the others. So in that way it's a framework for you to look at, right? And so it takes the guesswork and the pressure out of you trying to figure out, well, where do I start? It gives you, this is your starting place. Are you willing to look at this? Because, for example, the first realm is hyper ego. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to take a look at how you operate from your ego, and if you're going to say, well, I don't operate with ego, then don't even look at the other exits, right? if
Right.
you're if you're not willing to understand how is my ego showing up in ways that do not serve me, what type of ego defenses, and it lists out those ego defenses, for example, and takes you through them for you to hold them in your hand, look at them, ponder them, consider them in an honest way, so you can understand how is this getting in my way, and what happens if I let it go. You get
Right.
some, so that part is laid out for you very nicely. So then the questions remain still, I think what you're getting at, but how do I have safety in letting it go? You don't. You don't. So living is trial and error. Like, if we all really were only going to make those decisions that we knew were going to turn out right,
Right.
then us would make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
That's why one of the X's is complacency, right? Which is what you were just talking about. We don't need guarantees to move forward in life. We need trust in ourselves. We need to be connected to our soul. We need some mental resilience to have bounce back. We need grit. What we don't need is proof or 100% guarantee that the decisions that we make are going to turn out right.
Right. Yeah, that is really very inspiring, because we don't know that things are going to turn out right. We don't have that proof. We're not God, so we can't see into the future. We have to just depend on Him and know that our steps are ordered and everything is planned out. Because otherwise, we'll never make those exits, and we won't go through the process that you're talking about. When I think about the exits and grief and guilt, sometimes it can be difficult, if you're struggling with grief and guilt, to leave something behind, right? To make that exit and leave it behind. How do people handle that? If you feel like, I'm going to feel guilty, or I have grief, so I don't want to leave this behind, but I've determined that this is one of my exits I have to take.
So the beauty of in this framework is that it's laid out in a way that the framework waits for you. And so you don't, so let's take grief for example. Grief will relate to every single exit, right? So what part of the ego am I holding on to that makes it, or how is my ego operating in the way that makes me hold on to this grief? What silence and secrecy is making me hold on to this grief? What level of complacency is making me hold on to this grief? And you can go through each of the exits from a framework of grief yourself. There's no point in which you have to say, I have to let it go now. The book is gentle. It's deep and gentle. Like it is for you to work at your own pace. It's not one of those magic books that you read and it's going to change your life. No, it's going to invite you into a process so that you allow your life to be a constant evolution. So there is not a single thing in there that says, oh, you must do this or do this in 10 days. It is there to support you and hold your hand through the process like most books don't do. And so you read, and you know you want to read this book to deal with grief, you have the whole 200 pages to do that as it tells you and gives you more and more encouragement. Because what's going to happen, I predict, is that with each chapter, you will begin to understand what your grief is about. Because grief is really about the death of the person or the loss of the person. It's about what that person or thing or circumstance, what it meant to you. Sometimes it's a matter of how the person left. Sometimes it's a matter of the relationship before. Sometimes it's a matter of the consequences of that person leaving. And so by the time you have dug into each of these 7 exits, you have excavated many, if not all, of the things that are related to that grief. So it's not the loss of the person, but it is the grief itself and how
Right.
you deal with that.
Yeah, right. I'm definitely going through some things with, restoring bountiful joy in my business. And we're talking about grief is not just about the person not being here. It's about all the things that you're grieving that you lost. And it may not even be about death. It could be about grieving your old self or losing a job or something different in your life that you want back. So I love that you said that. Um, so, personally, was there something, because I know in the beginning you said that you have lived this life related to what you're talking about. So, thinking personally, was there an exit or a journey that you had to go through that you can relate to in this book, and how did that inspire you?
Yes, interestingly, I mean, I again, for me, I'm the exits are the life journey for me, and so it's not like you go and never come back. It's like, so when I get stuck on something, I get to ask myself, where am I right now? Like, what's the comfort in holding me? Let's take for example, writing a book. And writing a book is easy. Selling a book is hard, right?
Right.
And you're talking about a book or a podcast or being an entrepreneur in any capacity. It requires me to be something very different than what I tap into on a everyday basis, right? And so the question is always, who are you becoming to do the work that you want to do? Now,
Yeah.
I keep saying, oh, but I'm an introvert. Oh, but I don't like social media. I can keep saying those things, or I can tap into the exits and say, what is holding you in a place that's not serving you? I don't care how much you like being an introvert or you love yourself being an introvert or you have accepted that that's part of your personality. When you see that something is not serving you, what is it that you're holding on to that's allowing you to continue in a way that's not serving you? I don't care how much you love it, whether it's your personality, your boss, or your significant other. If it's not serving you in those moments, why do you choose stagnation? So I'm
Yeah.
always having to have to ask myself that in anything, because if we keep living, we should keep finding aspects of life that bring discomfort. because that's also is part of what happens in the growth process.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that because this entrepreneur journey, it takes me out of myself because I'm an introvert as well. People don't believe that, but I am. And the coach has a coach, right? You know that. So when I speak to other people in this journey, the main thing they say is you have to stay on social media. I'm like, I have to do another video. I don't want to do another video, but you have to keep doing that because if people don't know what you're doing, then it's hard to find the people that you need to serve. So I really appreciate that. um, so what would you say are some of the things that people will encounter if we stay too long? Like, what's the risk of us not acknowledging when we have to exit, or not acknowledging when something doesn't serve us anymore? How are we, I don't want to use the word hurting ourselves, but what risks are we taking by not following through?
Right. So one is that we continue to be disconnected because something is calling you. If you have that goal, that burning sensation, you just ignore it, then eventually you have to disconnect from yourself to stop hearing it and drown out the noise of what you're called to do. And again, it doesn't matter if it's a relationship, a job, or whatever it is. You have to drown out the noise that keeps calling you to be something, be in a place different than where you are. So that's, I think, the harshest consequence. Anything that disconnects us from ourselves. And then the other complicated piece is that if it's a lesson that we're supposed to learn, and we don't want to learn it, oh baby, the universe will keep bringing it to you again and again. You will,
Yes.
just like when you were younger, and like, are not getting any dessert until you eat those peas. And you
Right.
that those peas are not going anywhere. And then you ever eat it and think you got away with it, and then they bring the peas back the next day. It's like, oh, the peas you didn't eat yesterday, baby. Right, right, right.
Right.
And so when we refuse to move, if the universe has to shove us, that's going to be a harsher move for us. And so those are some of the consequences.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. This is really an affirming conversation of a lot of things that I've been dealing with and struggling with, but also I know a lot of our viewers that I've talked to have been talking about and dealing with. So this is really a very timely conversation. Um, what would you like for people to know, just in general, about this book, about your work? How can people find you? How are you helping individuals? What's your passion?
Thank you. So the book, 7x's.com, that's easy to remember, spell out the word, 7x's.com. And you can learn a little bit more about the book. Please, if you pre-order the book, you'll get all kind of updates about it and behind the scenes things, and it gives me an opportunity to engage with you. So that's my call to action, is that people are willing to engage in this process, engage in the book and talk to their friends about it, because a lot of people are looking for advice, suggestions, invitations,
Right.
and I think Seven Exits will give people what they didn't know they were looking for, because there's so much noise out there, so many shiny trinkets out there to grab, for people to grab onto, and that they think they need shiny and new, and what they really need is substance and depth. And so that's what Seven Exits is, and that's what I'd like people to know and how to engage in it. But otherwise, I what I want people to embrace and understand is that the work is always internal. I don't
Mhm.
care talking about all the noise that's out there now, and the shutdowns and job losses. They're real. They're very real, but they are not more real than our internal work. When we all are focused on our internal work, the outside stuff has to move. It's just the principle of the universe, the universal laws. It has to move. And so right now, this is almost like a second COVID, right? Where everybody is just scattered and in a panic about what's gonna happen next. That
Right.
if we really focus on harnessing that energy, because it's all up in the air now. No one knows. This is all uncertainty for us. And instead of us all being out there throwing out energy into the air, and if we all use that energy to go inward and focus, we will come up with a better solution than what it was before. But we won't if everybody's just in chaos, putting that energy outward, because we know that where the focus goes, the energy flows. And so if we can just learn to turn away, get off of social media for a little bit, turn the TV off a little bit, stop taking information in from the outside, and let it evolve from the inside, something different will begin to shift.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I love how you said this is almost like a second COVID, because it is. People are frantic. They're unsure of, how they're going to continue their livelihood. The job that people thought was secure, right? The federal job is now not secure. And comparing it to COVID, people worried about their life, just being alive, right? So it's so similar. Stepping away and stop in taking things in all the time. There was a saying, what you welcome in, you have to entertain. So don't take it in for a minute. And it's going to be okay if you're not on social media for a day. Thank you so much. Where can people find you? How can people reach out to you? What's your social media handle? Where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. I'm trying. Oh Lord, I'm
Me
trying.
too.
I'm mostly on Facebook. But Facebook and Instagram and TikTok is where I'm committed to helping to spread this word. So of course, any help or support people can give me in those areas, I am grateful for. And you can also contact me via 7x's.com. And I'm not that far away. We're closer than you think. So any way that you can support me, I appreciate it. Any way that I can support you, I am here to do that as well. So remember that you are me and I am you, and together we create love.
I love that. Thank you so much. You are going to be on our fireside chat panel on May 3rd. We're having a pre-Mother's Day event. That event is going to be in Queens, and we're honoring our Heavenly Mothers. So we want to focus on having a fireside chat about health and wellness, and you are one of our esteemed panelists. So thank you for doing that for us.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. It's been great talking with you. Can't wait to see you soon. This has been the Dee-Brief with Dr. D. I'm Dr. D, and thank you for joining us.
Well, that's a wrap of another power-packed episode of the Dee-Brief with Dr. D. If today's insight inspired you, share it, leave a review, and connect with me. Remember, leadership is a journey. Healing is possible, and transformation is yours for the taking. Don't miss next week's episode, because every time we meet, we're unlocking new strategies, fresh perspectives, and bold breakthroughs. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media at the Dee-Brief with Dr. D, so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and always reclaim your joy. See you later. Well, that's a wrap